We finally got some more Emperor's Children revealed at the Las Vegas Open after we already got the new Fulgur Mini, but this is what I have been waiting for since more than 20 years, when I bought the old Noise Marines upgrade kit. Notice how I still got them in metal and not the wonky resin that they have been selling for over a decade. And what this tells you is that I'm really old. But let's find out if I'll be happy with the direction they are taking on this new faction, or if all my hopes and dreams of 2 decades will be shattered by Games Workshop yet again. Feel free to let me know what you think about these in the comments, whether you like them or hate them, or if you're totally indifferent. We're getting 3 squads and 3 characters. And let's start with these Tormentors, your standard type boulder wielding troops. And generally, I think these regular troops tell you a lot more about the aesthetic choices for a faction, more so than the big eye-catcher models, because the overarching design ideas of the studio become a lot more clear when everything is a bit minimal and don't get lost in the additional details that go onto these special models, simply to make them stand out or show their special status, along with some extra elements like whirling smoke and crackling energy. But these standard troops bake the design ideas down to their simplest form, and I like to analyze a faction based on that. There's a couple of things that stand out to me. First, it looks like they were trying to get away from the silly stances that made every Firstborn and subsequently every Trader Marine look like they were squatting down to take a dump. I know a lot of you like Firstborn better than Primaris, but I just like that it feels more like these Marines actually have credible proportions. And I think they really tried to make them not look silly proportion-wise like some of the older Chaos models. It's going to be interesting to see how tall they end up really being. And second, they definitely look a lot sleeker than their Trader brothers. Like the legs look thinner and more elegant, and maybe that's part of why it feels like they can strike more natural poses to begin with. But I also think that not having too many trims helps tremendously with that. Don't get me wrong, they still have a lot of trims, but at least we get them to morph into Slaanesh iconography and we don't have trims everywhere. Like if we look at these legs, we get them either at the top or the bottom of the lower leg, and then the upper leg armor sometimes looks like there's not that much trim at all. So we do get to play around a bit more with plain armor elements, and that is always nice. Of course, we do get the typical Slaanesh tropes like skin stretched over armor plates and whips, but I don't think they are overdone except for the helmets that all have these plumes. I guess that helps with making them look taller and more sleek, but I would really like to see more plain helmets on a few of them. Generally, it looks like there's always a lot going on these helmets, and some of them are really a swing and a miss in my opinion. I really like this one up here, especially with the slightly purple stained metallics. But that one over here looks like Magneto with a Trollolo face. Moving on to the Infractors, which are obviously just the Tormentor bodies with close combat weapons. Again, we see some of these helmets are just weird. They look like a dry blower to me, or like they imagined robots in movies from the 50s. Likewise, I'm torn on some of these faces. The Slaanesh aesthetic for me always was defined by this particular Adrian Smith artwork that is also on the Codex cover, that is in the army set. And it feels like there's some reference to that in some of these faces, like the insect eyes or the straps attached to the skin. But I don't think any of them quite captures the horror that the art makes you feel. They did come up with a more unique design for the backpack still, where the spherical exhaust vents attached to these distinct metallic shapes with sharp edges, and these general shapes repeat in other units like we are going to see in a bit here, and I like that design consistency. The connective parts between the armor plates remind me a lot of the Hellraiser movies, and I like the direction a lot. I think it's a good fit. Obviously, we don't get any chain swords because that is for brutes like Khorne Berserkers and not elegant sword fighters like the worshippers of Slaanesh. And obviously, that fits with another Slaanesh trope, but again, it adds to the sleekness and dynamism of the sculpts, since most of these blades are curved. Some of them even have multiple curvatures. Oh, and some have pointed out that their bolt pistols look rather tiny. I mean, just look at the chunker on the Adrian Smith artwork and compare it to that. But again, I think this just adds to the idea of making them look more elegant and sleek. So overall, I think I really like these, especially the sleeker aesthetic, the more dynamic poses without having them full on stumbling forward all the time. There are a few that have this running forward, stumbling forward looking pose, but it's at least not a majority. And the fact that you can actually see some armor panels this time where you don't feel like simply painting them in a metallic base color and slapping a wash on will be enough just because there's so much trim and so little armor. Next up, we have Lucius the Eternal, and Lucius thinks of himself as the greatest sword fighter ever. So he seeks out challenges on the battlefield. In-game, that means you can target your opponent's character models. In the lore, if anyone beats him and has as much as the slightest bit of joy or even pride about striking him down, they will turn into Lucius, bearing all the wounds he ever retains all over his body, and their soul will forever be imprisoned in his armor alongside with everyone else that ever beats him in combat. Now, for being such a master sword fighter though, I feel like that's an awful lot of faces trapped in there. I'm so torn on this model, and I think overall I lean towards not liking him. When we just saw the silhouette in the preview, I said to my Discord, whenever Games Workshop do flesh whips, they mess it up. But I think the flesh whip and how it frames the mini is actually the best part about it. The way he's whipping it back adds a lot of dynamic and additional movement. I also like the rack of vials on the back, choosing him up with a cocktail of stims. But whenever I think of Lucius, I think of this artwork by Karl Kopinski. And looking at it now, I even like the rack on it better. But the main point is how his face looks, more covered in 1,000 random cuts, while the new face looks like someone just ran a single knife through it erratically, trying to carve it like a pumpkin. And also the mouth has this creepy grin that is just completely lost in the miniature rendition. And the laced corset clearly loses against what looks like his exposed and slashed skin in the abdominal area on the artwork. And these cuts even extend down to his legs and arms, so even the armor retains these blows that he suffered. All of this added together, I feel like this mini is such a missed opportunity. Speaking about swordsmen, next up we have the Flawless Blades, successors of the Paladin Blades apparently. Basically the equivalent of Possessed in regular Chaos Space Marine armies. But while these other Possessed get warped beyond recognition, the Flawless Blades reject being possessed by any demonic entity, even though they seem to be gladly accepting gifts from their demonic patrons. They are taller than their brethren, and obviously all body parts look elongated. They're all high on drugs, enhancing every sensation, and they're wielding these long blades that are most likely not compensating for anything, given how long the rest of their body features are. And that brings me to the heads. I get where they were going and why we are doing this, but I think I need to get used to the cone heads being in Warhammer 40k now. Like, this is what I would expect an Elder to look like under their helmet. And with Slaanesh hating the Elder a tiny bit, I don't think that was what he was going for. I'm particularly not sure about this one. The eyelids are held open, and that's cool, I think. But then he also has a speaker mouth, and maybe that's a bit much. They seem to be a bit more inspired by the Adrian Smith artwork, at least when it comes to how their torsos are exposed and some of the armor details. But I don't know, I really want to see what other options there are on the sprues. Also, they look weirdly busy compared to the standard troops. If I had to design them, I would probably make them more plain and add a few more of these spheres that could be painted like this pearlescent sheen, sort of like they did on the Slaanesh symbol, to play more into that idea that they think of themselves as perfection. So I kind of like that they remind me of Xerxes in 300 as far as the physical presence goes, but I'm not entirely convinced about some of the detailing. The Lord Exultant is an interesting kit. You can build this in at least 3 configurations, but I guess you can just swap out any weapon that you like. And I like what my guy has going on with the cloak, but oh my god, he could be right out of Battlefield Earth in some of these configurations. The plateau boots, leather jumper and giant shoulder pads, Maybe he's not worshipping Slaanesh but L. Ron Hubbard. I guess I like him best in this configuration with the power fist and the polearm/sword. And let's be honest, this way you also don't have to use the head with the giant croissant. I don't even know how this fits into any Slaanesh trope. Like, does he feel pride with that abomination on his head, or does it make him more beautiful? I feel like more than anything, the other children would just tease you constantly about it. But I think the best thing about him is that he comes in so many configurations, so many options, which means that even if you decide on one configuration and you glue it together, there's extra bits that allows you to configure your personal favorite hero maybe, or even cannibalize the sprues for other characters in your army. And with a little bit of kit bashing and converting, you might even be able to turn this into a generic chaos hero. And something I was very excited about was the Noise Marines. Because again, look at what we had up until now. And on first sight, I love that they are bulkier. I personally would have no problems if they were up to Terminator size. But I think in the video they mentioned that they are in the range of Havoc Marines, which is fine. Again, they do look a little busy, but this time I think it's more because the weapons do have so many details, like the faces in the front, which I mostly like, but I'd like to see all the other options. But then they also have these containers, and maybe someone can tell me why that is. To me, they look exactly like the stims the Marines are injecting, and I don't quite know what a liquid would do in the context of sonic weapons. Maybe it makes them Dolby Surround or something. I would maybe have liked them to be a bit more streamlined. Like, okay, you have a lot of cables hanging from them, and I guess all of these knobs can alter the frequency, range, and direction. But then please don't slap trims on it on top. But overall, I think I like these a lot, especially in the side view. And it's probably easy to get rid of a couple of details with a hobby knife and sandpaper. I like the added speakers on the backpacks. That makes them look even bulkier and menacing. And I'm also a fan of the helmets this time. They do keep the regular shape of a Space Marine helmet, but then morph into their own thing with the speaker trope weaved in. I like how this guy grew a speaker instead of a mouth. I like that we do at least get the option of a close combat weapon and sonic pistol, just like in the original upgrade kit, if only to have at least one open stance where the weapon doesn't cover the rest of the armor. And even if you don't use it in this squad, you might be able to use it as bits for some other unit. And one last thing I do not particularly like about the whole range is that every single foot has this hoof shape. And I guess it's okay that the ones flirting with demonic gifts do get even real hooves for feet, but even there I'd have liked some other variants on at least one of them. I don't know, I feel like the design just makes the feet look unnecessarily clumsy and big, contrasted against the otherwise sleek designs. I don't think that makes much sense. And that brings us to the Lord Cacophonist. And I guess I like everything above his waist. He looks super menacing with the giant organ on his back and the thick cables with the head peeking out from under them. Great helmet design in my opinion. I feel like whenever they don't stray too much from the original Space Marine helmet and just pronounce certain features based on the tropes of the particular Chaos affiliation, that always spawns the best designs. But below the waist, I'm thrown off a little because his legs do look a little bit too flimsy. I guess they tried to bulk the lower leg part a bit with the spherical parts extending in the knee area, but the upper leg armor just looks too thin to belong there. And maybe not having him skip leg day to be able to hoist the giant organ on his back around would have been the way to go. Also, I'm looking forward to the kit to see if there's any other weapon options, because on a purely aesthetic level, I'm not sure if I like the Sonic Blasters. So all in all, I think the faction looks a little bit less busy than other Chaos Space Marines, but the more elite the troops, the more additional details we get thrown on, instead of focusing on a few clear and defining elements and tropes. It looks like all elements were just thrown on there and whatever stuck stayed there. So in a way, I have the same problem with these that I had with how the Nurgle faction developed. Because in the beginning they had a lot less features, but very distinct features defining them as Nurgle. But over time the minis just became blobs of detail. Like put another fly in there, another Nurgle symbol here, one more part where guts are spilling, slime dripping from this, slime dripping from that, more trims on top of that. And while we don't see it this much in the Slaanesh minis so far, there's definitely a tendency towards that, the more elite the troops become. And speaking of Nurgle, I just have to show you this release because I absolutely love it. The Lord of Poxes looks like what is the typical Mark III Marine armor. Apparently, that's not an AC unit on his back. No, he's carrying a giant smokescreen generator around, which I suppose gives stealth to the unit he's attached to. And I like that fantasy of him just spewing out black smoke that covers their advance. There's a couple of STL options that I can think of that would fit perfectly here. I'm already looking forward to painting this one, and I have a lot of ideas for it. There's some Nurgle tropes in there. Bloated armor, intestines hanging out but retained by a pouch that is also holding a grenade. So not too many guts in your face. Strategically placed rugs, and there's some makeshift isolation on the device on his back that breaks up the monotony of the larger green panels, which are not too detailed either. So you can actually paint on them without too many details getting in the way. And then the real kicker, the giant executioner sword on the back, held up by the system of straps and one hand on a hilt. Just one over-the-top detail on an otherwise subtle, well-rounded mini. But back to Slaanesh one last time. I've seen mixed reactions to Fulgrim online, and while I can relate to some of them, I disagree with others. So of course it's a fair point to compare the Forge World version that didn't even come out that long ago to the new release, and some critical voices mentioned that he's way too over the top and that the pretty boy doesn't look so pretty anymore in the new version. And I do think it's fair to say that if the old Fulgrim model represents him during the Horus Heresy, and the new version represents him 10,000 years later, you would expect a lot of demonic transformation. So while I also like the old face better, I think the grimacing, twisted face represents that. I almost expected a face like this to happen because Forge World was always good with organic shapes. Simply because they used traditional sculpting a lot, which lends itself better to soft features. 3D sculpting often results in sharper angles, more edgy and blocked out features, probably because this is simpler to paint both for the studio style and also for the average hobbyist. That said, I also like the more organic look the armor on the Forge World version has. Like this part down here has so much more character than the plates on the new version. And the upper body, right up to the detailing on his abdomen and chest and the line work around his face, I like that a lot, is so much more distinct than with the new version. The scales also look so much more organic than the odd mix of spikes and sails sticking out of the new version's back. It's just a mix of too many shapes, details and features in my opinion. In general, the Forge World version looks more dynamic with an off-center balance that is made even more pronounced by the direction the wings are pointing in. Then, of course, a big point of contention was the gaping wound in the front of his snake body, exposing a Slaanesh symbol, and it also makes his inner organs maybe a tiny bit vulnerable. And while I'm not a fan of it, I do think this is exactly in line with Slaanesh. The reveling in sensations, pain, and the display of excess, all of that is embodied here. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to painting these on the main channel. As for what's to come for this channel, I want to put out a mix of these analysis style videos along with painting videos that don't quite fit the main channel, videos that focus more on a single technique maybe, and might therefore be shorter, which is not what YouTube wants and pushes these days. Or on the other hand, longer, less edited painting videos that are a bit more focused on the process, maybe start to finish, which might have a runtime that the algorithm favors, but generally it doesn't have the biggest audience draw. And everything in between that would influence the average view count on my main channel too much, but that still should be out there. So thanks for watching, keep pushing that pigment, and if you like where this is headed, hit that like button and subscribe to not miss out on any future uploads.